Hello and welcome to everyone joining us. I see the numbers going up. We're going to give everyone just like 30 more seconds to get in as I see people still joining right now. Okay, I think we can get started. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us for the 10 Key Trends for Economic Development Websites in 2024. So webinar that we have every year, and it's very well attended. I'm very interested in hearing what Aaron and Elisa have to talk about. So I'd like to just go over a couple housekeeping things, and then we'll get into the presentation. First, we will be sending a follow-up email after the presentation with the recording and I think PDF as well. So be on the lookout for that coming most likely from me either later today or tomorrow morning. If you have questions, please put them in the Q&A or chat section. We'll be keeping track of those as we go. And let us know, yes, if you have any questions. Going forward, I think I will just introduce our presenters and let them take it away because I know they've got a lot to go over. So we've got Aaron Brossoit from Golden Shovel Agency and Dr. Elisa Sklar from GIS Planning and FDI Intelligence. I suppose I should introduce myself as well. I'm Audrey Anderson from Golden Shovel Agency. I will just let them take it away.
All right, here we go. Well, thanks everybody for coming and attending today. And special thanks to Dr. Elisa Sklar for joining today. So 10 key trends for economic development websites. This is our 10th year of doing this webinar. What do you think of that, Elisa?
Where does the time go? I can't believe it.
Oh, you're looking better than ever, by the way. I have to say it.
Same to you. Yes.
For the people that have been on this webinar in the past, there is a ton of information. This particular year, we've saw quite a few adjustments and changes from the past. There are definitely some new trends that are exciting. And I don't know what you think, Lisa. Maybe we should just kick it off and go to town.
Let's get into it. I'm pretty excited. This is going to be a good one.
All right. Well, let's start with glamour shots of us. And then why don't you kick it off? I'm going to turn my video off since there's so much visual to see, and we'll pop back in at the end. How about that?
Excellent plan. I like it. Let me just figure out how to turn my video off since my mouse now controls. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. So I've turned that off and I appreciate that. And I'm really excited to be doing this with you. I still can't believe that this is 10 years. What we're going to try and do here is give you a recap, I guess, of what we see as the top trends based on our experience working with economic development organizations across North America and in some cases around the world. And we're going to take a look at some of the things that we've also seen from the research. So that's always kind of fun. Here, let's see if I can pull us into the next slide. Okay, so we've got this dizzying shot of us trying to imagine what the future will hold. Recent years should have taught us that's never a good idea, but nevertheless, we're going to plunge into this. So for number 10, to start us off here as we count down, storytelling. We know this is something that has shown up in past years, super important, and we know that that's because this is just how people think. Our brains are really hardwired for narrative. This is something that we've, since we're our infancy or even before, as our moms would tell us story in the womb, we can see that this helps us understand information. It captures our attention. It keeps us engaged, and it helps us understand complex concepts. And of course, also help us remember things, which is really important. And as we, as marketers, try and make sense of stories, this really also helps us package the information that we have. And you might think economic development, why is this important? But nevertheless, it is. It helps us make sense of these kinds of things. And I know that probably many of you have had the experience of being asked, what is economic development anyway? And having to come up with a clear, concise answer for lay people. And then particularly when we have an abstract service like this, rather than a tangible widget that you can show people or talk about, stories really help people understand what it is that we do in this field. And there's so many stories that we can tell in economic development. This is just kind of a quick smattering of things that have occurred to us over time. Certainly, people, every person has a story to tell, whether they are owners or workers, entrepreneurs, investors, elected officials, people working with the chamber, downtown improvement district. And there's so many stories within each one of which is something that you can tell in different ways. It can be written out, it can be told in video, it can be told through social, it can be told through images. And these are the kinds of things that we're looking for. And this is just one example of a story from our friends in Henry County, using social media and video to tell these kinds of stories. So many different examples you'll see. They tend to be very compelling and of course attract our attention. One of the things that we've strived to do at GIS Planning and FDI Intelligence is to use data in different ways to tell stories, and our Zoom Tour virtual tour building software is one example of that. You could see, in this case, the city of Abbotsford using that to talk about restaurants with patios that they wanted to support within the region, and each stop along the tour will take you to a different restaurant. Data, of course, we'll be talking about a lot here, but they can tell stories about your location. So in this case, you can see a map of all the data centers in Miami. And that's a kind of story that they want to be able to tell, makes it really visual, and there's ways in which you can package this to be very compelling. And other examples, of course, are stories about your industry sectors and subsectors, clusters that are important to your location. I'm a big fan of visual storytelling. So in this case, this is Choctaw County, and you'll notice that the images and there's text links to it. So when you get the PDF of our slideshow, you can click over the different sites and take a look at them live. This is, instead of just telling them the story of an industry sector, we're showing them how those companies and institutions are dispersed across geography, and it makes for a more compelling story as well, which can also be told in different ways through social, as you can see in these screenshots of Pasadena Economic Development Corporation and the stories that they are telling. Another way that we like to tell stories is, in this case, we pulled some data off of FDI Markets, which is part of our portfolio, about aerospace in southeastern states. Take that raw data and put it into this very visual story form, which at a glance helps people understand some key numbers with a little bit of copy so that you can quickly communicate something that's important about this particular subsector. So one example from FDI Markets that we were able to pull together. And this is definitely something that we're hearing from the selection advisors, the site selectors themselves. As you can see in this quote from Gray Swoop, this is your community's first impression. Telling that story helps to grab attention from potential investors, location advisors, so that you're able to make an impression. And when the time comes for them to look for appropriate locations or to consider different properties, they can have you top of mind because you've been in there and told that information. I pass this over to you now.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. And really, from our perspective at Golden Shovel, all of our marketing is just telling the story. And to your point in the beginning, it's the stories that stick in your mind and resonate with your soul. And if you're trying to get someone to move a business or trying to get a family to consider your location to set up shop, you really have to resonate with soul, heart, and mind, because that's what's going to draw them to there and can bring that inspiration. So we write thousands of articles a year for our clients across the country, and it's all stories, and there's always focusing on success stories. We're really looking for ones where the hero of the story is going to be both relatable to the target audiences that we're communicating it, whether it's attracting a workforce or trying to attract businesses, but it's also aspirational. So they get a feeling like, yeah, I kind of understand where that guy's coming from, and you know what, I could do that. Maybe I could do that there in that community. And the story, here's just a couple examples. Here's one on the city of Roseville in Minnesota, telling a story about something, the food for the soul in Roseville. And if you go into their site, you'll find an area where it has all of their success stories located, and you can go and view those. But The website is at the center of all of this because that's where all of it's stored, and it becomes really the big first impression. But these stories are also what reach out and find people, and that's where it's connected to social media or the stories that are coming out of videos or the virtual tours and some of the things we're going to see today. All deliver that story and then bring people back to the economic development website. So got to think about what kind of story you're telling. And it's not just the written story, it's also the visual story. And so here's a couple of examples. These, due to being on Zoom, I don't have the animations running on these video banners, but here's a couple sites that really did an excellent job of telling a story both visually as well as with their data and their stories. So this one's Greater Portland. We just checked out Jews Columbus, Georgia. This one was great. Broken Arrow, it's in Oklahoma. You could just see that guy in the middle. It just tells the story of how exciting Broken Arrow, Oklahoma is. And Explore Troutdale. This is in Oregon, and a gateway to the gorge, absolutely gorgeous, and tells the story right there. It makes you want to just go straight over there and jump in that river.
I love those images, and I think that is especially people's faces is a great way to begin those stories. That's another thing that our minds are just wired to respond to. So that was really our fantastic images and a great way to draw people in. So when it comes to data, we know that keeping people on your website with interactive data is absolutely critical. This is one of the things in our recent, some of the data I'm going to be drawing from here is from our surveys in 2021 and 2023 with economic developers and site selectors around the world. And we asked the site selectors, what do you do before you contact an EDO? And far and away, the most often they are looking at your website before you even know that you're being considered. The second most common are looking at third-party data sources and then publications and media. And that means that if you aren't putting compelling information, up-to-date, reliable information on your website, you might be losing leads without even knowing you were in the running. We also asked the site selectors, when do you first contact EDOs for data? And in fact, it's quite, the majority of them are only making contact well down the line, which means that they are writing off or eliminating locations from their consideration before the EDO knows that they were in the running. And that's really something that should encourage you to think about what is on your website. So some of the ways that we have worked to ensure that the software that we offer is as visible as possible is to help our clients understand how interactive data is not a one-off link to a tool, but that it actually provides content that keeps people on the website longer. For example, here we have customizable search widgets, like you can see on the Locate South Carolina tab over there. That means on one website page, they can begin searches that will take them to another. Other things that we've provided are these property display widgets. I love this example from Michigan, actually, because they've identified these 4 property classes over here: redevelopment ready, opportunity zones, build ready, energy ready, as important property assets for investors looking at the state. And when you click on each one, and this is just a screenshot, so I can't do it for you here, the thumbnails change to reflect each of those. Always a refreshed, up-to-date look at their property inventory. And that way you can begin the location. It encourages you to move into the next step. So it's about mapping that investor journey across the website, which is so important. And if you click over to the link, you'll be able to see what that looks like live. We know that site selectors, as I said, and businesses are making decisions before they reach out to you in different ways. So thinking of interactive data tools as content generators is important. And you see an example here from Golden Isles, Georgia, where they're using a property of the week link that brings people back to the website. That's so important. Don't forget the link. That will help drive traffic their way and tell that story. So it really is about content that is interesting, that it is resonant, that it is strategic, and that you're doing this consistently. Another site selector quote that we've got over here is the importance of having a up-to-date, interactive, well-maintained sites and buildings database. that is aggregated with other data. So it's not just the properties themselves. There are warehouses and industrial facilities all over the world. What they want to know is, how does the rest of your location meet their selection criteria, whether that is access to an interstate or rail access or incentive zones or other kinds of things. That is very, very important. And there we go. It takes a moment with Google Slides. What kinds of data you offer, just kind of an overview of some of the most common kinds of data that we're hearing from site selectors that they're looking for. You can put that for the community without properties as well as around the properties. So in the Detroit regional GIF that you're seeing over here, there is analysis around a specific property at the center of the radius circle, and all that analysis can happen with that. So other kinds of things you want to make sure, as I said, another example here from the state of Indiana is just being able to do these kind of filtered searches so that you know what you're looking for and your investors can begin that search quickly and easily. Daily updated business data. This is one of the things we hear from site selectors as being really important, and being able to drill down, as you can see in this example from CSX. We're looking here at the city of Charlotte, where we just highlighted the businesses in manufacturing clusters. So each one of those dots is a business that people can begin to look at: supply chains, competitors, industry sectors, subsectors. This is information that site selectors say they really need and helps them make those decisions. Also, this is information that's really important for your businesses, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Another thing we heard from site selectors is they want to be able to compare communities. We built into Zoom Prospector the ability to benchmark your community on hundreds and hundreds of data points against as many other communities from across the US as possible. This is something we're bringing into Canada as well. Can't yet compare across borders. That's something we're working on, but that's not so easy. It's comparing apples and oranges sometimes, so a little more difficult, but you can certainly compare across the country, and that is something they really want to be able to see. You can pick as many communities as you want and then see them in tables, graphs, and charts. Comparing properties, something else they want to be able to see. These are the 4 properties. I think you can compare up to 5 or more. From Locate SC, I picked these 4 different properties, these sites, and side by side, whatever property details are entered in there, you can scroll down and view all that information, and it helps make sense of these things. We also redid our intelligence components this past year. There's now 10 of them available. So we have 10, although I only see 9 in that list. One of them is the Community Explorer. I'm just realizing what is not on that list. And these are standalone tools. It just slices and dices the same data that you'll find in Zoom Prospector, but you can embed them on as many other website pages as you want. This is content. This is what brings people to your website. We've seen that these can function up to 25% of landing pages for our clients, and then it keeps them returning and it keeps them there longer. So lowering your bounce rate. Examples, there's snapshots from other ones that you could see. They're really compelling. Each one of them has a share link, so you can share from there. One other one that I just wanted to show as part of the FDI portfolio is our investment map. Great example of both storytelling and data here from the city of Calgary in Alberta, Canada. This map maps all of the investments into the region. You can drill down, learn where they're from. You could see them on the side and get the kind of story about each one of them. So it is really offering this kind of social proof about it, but also letting people understand more about clusters and interest from different places. Dynamic sharing, number 8. Aaron, we're at number 8 already. That's good. Okay.
Right.
So we know that almost everything is better when it's shared. And one of the things that we really wanted to make sure is that it is possible to share nuanced reporting and analysis directly from software tools that are on your website, because you always want to bring people back to the website, these beautiful websites that Golden Shovel has built for you. So this is really important. Sometimes I see economic developers sharing interesting facts and figures on social media, for example, or in slide decks, but they don't always have a link back to the website. So we made it possible, no matter what your analysis is, to generate a unique custom URL that you can use in a hyperlink that'll bring people back there, as you can see in this example from North Bay, Ontario, Canada. Another example from the intelligence components. This is Amarillo, Texas. You can generate the analysis, and now there is a share link that lets people come back to that specific example. You can also see Stockton, California on there. Analytics and lead generation. Okay, we are now talking about it, and I know this is something else to say a couple words about this, and then I know this is definitely in your wheelhouse, Erin, but we want to make sure that your website is found. Lots of ways that brilliant website developers like Golden Shovel can do that for you. One of the things that we've done is built into the back end of our tools the ability to do reverse IP lookup. So not only can you get analytics from your Google Analytics, and not only do you get economic development analytics from your Zoom Prospector analytics that let you see which properties and which buildings were searched, which reports were downloaded, but Leadfeeder tells you what company, using the commercial IP address, what company has visited your software tools, what properties they've looked at, what searches they're doing, how often they return. Now, you're not going to know if it's a Lisa from GIS Planning, because that would be really creepy. We just know that someone from GIS Planning, in this case, the location, because we have people all over their physical geographic location, and then you can get them in there, and you could see all kinds of really interesting information about the properties that they're looking at and the reports that they're seeing and how they got there.
That was great. Thank you. First of all, I mean, you're absolutely right. The lead generation on a website is really where the main focus is today. Because there's one thing to have the website at the center of the whole marketing ecosystem, but then what do you do once the people get there, and how do you make sure that those contacts get nurtured? And in the past, kind of before some of these tools that were available for tracking and being able to reconnect with people, we had only outbound marketing, which was really putting messages out there and just hoping for the best. It's kind of in a funny way, like a billboard that's out there. And the only way you really know if it's working is if someone tells you that they saw it. But we really focus on this other approach of inbound marketing, which is the marketing that happens after the people have your prospects have come to your site, and they end up arriving at your site because perhaps you had put a news story on LinkedIn, or maybe it was a workforce attraction or a talent attraction story on Facebook. It might come from an e-newsletter. There's a whole variety of tools of how somebody might get to your site. But once they're there, you can begin the process of nurturing that lead. You know that they're already interested in, say, aerospace, because they read about an aerospace article on LinkedIn. Well, if that's the case, then there's other types of information that you can present to them. And some of the tools that we've used, whether it's inviting that person to a webinar that perhaps touches on the aerospace industry, or having them download a white paper on why the aerospace industry is a good fit for that particular community or in that region, sharing success stories of other people in the industry that are thriving that might catch the interest of the prospects. And the more that they come to the site and the more information that they download, the more likely they are to come check it out and visit in person and make it to the finalist list for those particular industries. Here's some of the different strategies that we use. The content marketing, as I noted, we have a dozen writers just at Golden Shovel that we write, like I said, over 1,000 articles a year that go out as success stories of all sorts of different types, depending on the goals of the clients. We use a lot of LinkedIn, a lot of Facebook, and now we're even seeing some interest in like TikTok and some of these others for attracting talent. There's Google is still a huge player, even though things are certainly shifting, but the search engine optimization and the pay-per-click marketing are both really important. And we focus in on getting those keywords right and focusing on making sure that the website's really well search engine optimized so that they're going to get the highest possible organic results when people are looking for your community. HubSpot's been really popular. They have a huge piece of software that can sit behind the inbound marketing strategy, just for keeping tabs on people. They might show up the first time as an IP address, but eventually, when they download, say, a white paper, they might get an email address or get a be able to further out that profile, and so you can make sure that they're getting the stuff that they want to know about your community. And even though it's maybe the dinosaur in the room, email marketing is as successful and popular as ever. And so we still see multiple newsletter related pieces, organizations sending out newsletters, certainly economic development associations, and our businesses are still using newsletters to this day. In fact, sign up for the Golden Shovel newsletter. If you get a chance, it's at goldenshovel.com. How about virtual tours?
Virtual tours. So this is something that really came out of the pandemic, one of those silver linings. People couldn't travel, and we heard from our clients, hey, we really want to be able to tell the stories about these beautiful places we live in without people being able to always get in a plane or train or car and come visit us. So these are easy to build DIY virtual tour building software. It's presentation software. So it's, I guess I've been told drag and drop is not the right way to describe it, but there is a wizard at the back end that kind of directs you so you can quickly and easily build tours. In this case, we have NISA in South Carolina telling a story about their location from an economic development perspective. They've done a beautiful job. You can incorporate all kinds of media here. So there's images, there's video. You can put hyperlinks back to your website. Great. We kept talking about you want to get people back to the website. And of course, some of these are built into the website. There's the opportunity to put sound files, as you can see here, links to social channels. And of course, you can also use the Google Street View and mapping software that's in there. So it really makes it quite easy to do. You can see how NISA has used this as content on their website. But I have seen clients use this in social feeds, in presentation decks, in conference presentations, and email marketing, all kinds of different things. And the nice thing is they're so easy to build that our clients build, there's no limit to how many you can make, just like you can make as many PowerPoint decks as you want. So in this case, we've got Ponca City has done a great job with a profile of a specific industry sector. I love seeing the creative things that our clients do. In fact, Golden Shovel has built a beautiful Zoom tour for one of our clients, and I didn't think to put that in here, but we could maybe share that in the follow-up email or let me know if you're interested. There's just some really beautiful things that are in there. Yuma, Arizona has done a tour of their food processing industry. So the different stops along the tour will be different companies. You can see Google Street View, get links to the company website, a description. And what I love about it is that there are hyperlinks within the text description in the left-hand column to bring people back so you can, court investors in different areas and give them information about the benefits to those in that cluster. Now, the city of Abbotsford has made some, in British Columbia, Canada, has done an amazing job. They have made probably more tours than any one of our clients. And in this case, you can see that they created all these different tours. Filming and video production is really big in Abbotsford. They apparently, I did not know this, but they are the Hallmark film capital production of the world. I think it's a pretty little town, and I have learned that many things are actually filmed in their picturesque location. They've got enough snow, they've got a beautiful main street. And so what they've done is they've put together these little tours of the different locations with links. If you click the tour, and you'll see links up here on the side, you'll see some of the Hallmark video and film trailers that you can take a look at. Santa Clarita Valley also, not too surprising, does a great job with film and video attraction. And here is some information about what they can offer up in Hollywood North. Not quite as north as Abbotsford, but also doing a lot with film and video production. Now, in addition, other kinds of virtual tours is we built in, because not every property is going to benefit from the video work that professionals can offer them. It's just unlikely that every broker and every owner will produce one. So we built in Google Earth 360 flyovers for every single tour. If you can map it, we can add it, and that is provided in the property report. So you can get a little flyover for every single one. And in fact, our clients up in Detroit did a nice job. They did some video capture of this and added it to their LinkedIn post. So as you're scrolling through LinkedIn, it just gives you this amazing, instantly, you know what does it look like? What is the infrastructure around this property? And it's just a nice way to cut through the clutter and get people's attention. Now, we also made it possible, if you do have some beautiful custom tours, like the kinds of ones that Golden Shovel can produce, it is possible to add a custom tour button to any property report. And in this case, you can get, architectural renderings, drone videos, immersive interiors, walkthroughs, Matterports, animations. There's a lot of things that the professionals can put together. Over to you, Aaron.
For sure. And I just want to note, particularly with these interactive tools, starting with the Zoom tours. And by the way, the Zoom tours, we've done a couple of them with you guys. We did one with Montgomery County, Ohio, and we also did one in Panama. We went down and shot some VR video for. And we can definitely put the links into the presentation. And just in general, with a bunch of these tools that are the interactive data tools as a whole, I mean, we have dozens and dozens of clients that utilize those, and being able to use the website for more than a brochure and really dig down deep and use it as a tool to find information has been just crazy. Just what's come out in the last couple of years. So lots of thanks to GIS planning. And we've also been working on tours and really getting down in, literally, if you will, into the buildings to show them off so that people can really decide from afar whether or not it might be a facility that will fit. And we've been doing a lot of familiarization tours, which are full tours of a community, got kind of a business-centric perspective. We've been doing site tours where we're right on location. A fair amount for tourism and workforce attraction too. So you could show people that might be wanting to move into the area what it'd be like to live there. We've used a variety of different types of technologies to make these tours, but one of the areas that have been really exciting and successful has been in the VR area, mainly because VR has this ability to trick the brain into feeling like you're there. It has the same experience as if you travel to somewhere new. It actually opens up receptors in your brain so that you can take in more information than you could from a standard video or from just reading about it or looking at a photo. So the MetaQuest 3 is the latest tool that we've been using. We've been using an awful lot of the Quest 2s. And these, not only can you put these on your website, but that they can also then go view them through these headsets. And our clients have been taking them and bringing them to trade shows. So like industry shows, bringing them over to overseas if you're doing any kind of international work. Pretty much any time you can't get somebody to be there in your community and you want to show them what it's like, this technology is absolutely stunning for being able to show that off. And part of this is included. We actually developed a full app so that you could go inside and bring people. Actually, the background of this particular one happens to be in Oregon, Northeast Oregon, with Oregon Trail Electric. It has a virtual conference table that can be put in any location, and the avatars are your guests that can pop in and they can actually go to these locations, and you can give I'm doing bunny ears with my fingers, but live tour of your community. And so that's then inside your meeting. Once you're in there, you're able to do things like give your full presentation. You can pull up PDFs, you can pull up 3D models, and really have a full interactive experience with a prospect without ever having to leave your office. And I would say, as far as the VR projects are concerned, we've done, over 80 of them around the country, and some international too. And they're just, once again, if you can't get somebody to visit in person, these videos create the real feeling of being there. It's always sunny in VR, which is nice.
I have tried this out. It is actually amazing. Your mind really does think you're there. It's a remarkable software. If you haven't tried it, give it a shot. So 3D visualization, not quite VR, but if you're going to have to live on your computer in a 2D framework, this is an ability to help people be creative. Again, this is another look at how we can add interactive tools on your website and create content for them. So this was something else that we heard from our clients. Help us let our investors picture their investments. So basically what you can do is click on the bottom of Map Tools for any one of the properties in the system, and it lets visitors to your website generate one or more buildings. There are some design presets in there because then you can save them and share them if you want to. You don't need to log in to do that, which is also pretty amazing. The client can then, so by which I mean the economic developer with this on their website, can go into their admin and view all of the things, the buildings, 3Ds that people have generated, which is pretty amazing. They don't get shared publicly unless, you as the admin want that to happen. Generally, I don't do that unless I ask people's permission because they may be trying to make a decision about properties and don't want that put out there. But it is pretty amazing. We've had well over 1,000 of these created across our client sites since we debuted this a couple years ago. We also last year made it possible to do 3D renderings of multiple buildings in the same property. So that really helps people understand what it is they're trying to do. This can be added to proposals, responses to RFIs. It can be shared with a link by clicking on the little share button over there. And it is pretty fun and pretty amazing. Here's an example of one that was created in Lee County, Florida. And I think it is pretty astonishing how it helps you picture the things that you might be able to do on a site.
I love playing with that tool, by the way. It's it's really fun to go in there and just whip up little buildings. On our side, particularly tied in with the video, whether it's standard video or the VR video, there's one thing, especially with a brownfield or a greenfield site, where all there is to really see is some old soybeans or some dirt. And there's the ability, especially in the VR, where you can put in a 3D model and show the vision for that development and make it feel like you're standing there. And so it's really, this is of course a still graphic, but if you can imagine, you're standing there on a cornfield, and then suddenly pavement goes under your feet and a building pops out of the ground and it becomes photorealistic. And it's just an absolutely stunning experience. This one happens to be in York County, Nebraska. And we found that, especially with the VR side of things, ironically, a lot of more rural communities are the ones that have adopted it a lot faster than I'd say the big metros. And I think part of the reason for that is because it's harder for them to get site consultants and prospects to come visit their communities. And so this is that way that they can create their vision and then bring it to them versus try to inspire them to come and visit in person. Here's a few different examples of ones we've made. These are all videos, but as far as today's presentation, I got screenshots. So this is in Northeast Kentucky. This was an old mine site, and they wanted to show how an advanced manufacturing site might look. And that's how that one turned out. You can put in trees, you can put in people, you can put in animations to make it really feel realistic as if it's there. And in fact, in this particular example, they even put in a rail spur that went right up to the side of the building and put in a full 3D train that rode in on it to show how it might access this facility. But here's another example. That's a very, very common looking site. And here it is. Now it's in the Kettering Research Park. Or this is another site, but many of you watching have sites just like this, and can give them an example of what the Trotwood Medical Group might look like. And this one was fun because it even had the tree leaves moving in the wind, and cars were driving around. Here's another example. Very common site, and show what its particular business might look like on it. And then another way, so that's what we do if there isn't any building or any facility, we can use those 3D renderings to show. But what happens if you have an existing facility? You want to be able to show that off. We can use some of the same technologies like the VR and the 360 video to go through and make tours of that particular building. We've done that in the past, particularly in Ohio and Kentucky. But we also have used the Matterport technology. And this is a very specialized type of camera that we can go through a whole facility every 10 feet or so, and it takes a 360 photo, and ultimately it makes the entire thing into a 3D model that then you can walk through. And so it's so accurate that you can has measurement tools. You can actually walk through the whole building, any floor, any place that a person could go. And you can measure office spaces and doorways and openings, and decide if it might be a good fit for your company and the equipment that might be put in there. This is also really neat because it ties in with the VR headsets. So not only does they have a great website interface, we can embed them right onto the sites to show them off right onto the websites. But in VR, you can also go through a web browser, go to one of these tours and walk through the whole thing as if you were there. And I had experience of that. I purchased a house in Minnesota when I was living in Santa Cruz, California, and I never actually saw the house before purchasing it, but I was able to use the Matterport to walk through the whole entire house and decide it was a good fit for our family. So a very, very interesting technology and a really cool way for someone to feel like they're there from afar. Which then naturally, I think, leads us right into video. And the thing about video, we talked a little bit about 360 video and virtual tours, but video just in general is king right now as far as telling a story, bringing us all the way back to the first where we started. It engages people. It helps with search engine optimization. It's great for remembering because it's impressionable. And it's getting less and less expensive to develop videos that are really, really powerful. And so it's definitely something that's in the toolkit. I just was speaking with a site consultant at a presentation a few months ago, and he said that the two most important things right now in economic development are websites and videos. So I would support that. Fortunately, since I've got screenshots here, we'll send out links with this so you guys can check them out later. But some of these communities have just gorgeous video banners that tell the story instantly. They say a picture, speaks 1,000 words, but a video must be much higher than that because it's just some of them are just stunning and sets the tone for the information they're going to see inside the site. This happens to be the Wright County Economic Development Partnership. This is in Minnesota. We've been doing all sorts of different types of videos around the country, not just 360 fam tours and those types of pieces, or not just using those types of cameras. We've done a whole lot using just kind of standard cameras. We have drone packages, been shooting drone videos all over the place, and having just a nice toolkit like that, because there's a lot of options now for doing really interesting stuff. You got to figure, 20 years ago, you had to rent a helicopter to get an aerial shot. And now you can just fly a drone around and really get some really, really cool stuff. And you can put graphics and stuff on them too, like this one. This is like an example of a community tour that we did in Wisconsin. And you can see how we were able to tie in additional information on that. We've done a lot of interviews. This happens to be one that we worked with this was in Haiti, for investment promotion. And so you can just we've done a lot of interviews with various companies. So part of your video can be talking to some of the CEOs and the startups in the area. Let's see that. Lots and lots of video around industry. And so that sometimes they're just straight up target industries. So it's like, all right, we are focusing on, let's say ecotourism, and then you can have all of your content in the entire video and target around that. And usually every community's got a handful of industries that they're focused on, and they'll do a series of them. Beulah, this was in North Dakota. You can check these out when we send it out. And this one has 3 different videos that shoot up at the top of this. This is the state of Connecticut. One of an urban area, one of their more, I would say suburban area, and then some of the rural areas, just gorgeous communities, and using aerial imagery to tie it all together. And then put them right onto the websites. So here's some that we put right onto York County's site, both 360 ones as well as standard videos. You can go watch. And over to you, Lisa.
Thank you. Yeah, some really great examples, beautiful. Those are the kinds of things that just catch your attention when you're scrolling through online. So I love that. And I think some of the immersive walkthroughs also that you guys and virtual tour capability that you produce is really fantastic, really value added. When you get these beautiful videos, you can, of course, include them in a property report. You want to make the most of them and leverage them in as many different ways as possible. So not only can you add them to a property report in your sites and buildings database, but they can also be added to your proposals. We have a built-in proposal generator in Zoom Prospector. It's kind of like the Google Doc of the Zoom Prospector economic development world. You can just drag and drop, collaborate with people over distance. And if you have these beautiful videos, then they can be added to different pages and to the different property reports as well. So make the most of them once you get them. And this brings us to AI. I think this is a new debut on our list, Aaron, and I'm going to pass this over to you because interesting stuff to share.
Sounds great. There's been so much activity in just 1 year in AI, particularly since the release of ChatGPT. And if you're familiar with ChatGPT, there's so much you can do to support a website using this tool. Right now, to get a subscription to it is $20 a month to have full access to the ChatGPT 3.5 and 4, which has been just absolutely phenomenal. And how you use ChatGPT is by typing in prompts. And so some of the things you can do for economic development websites, you can use it to generate ideas. And we'll talk a little bit about these prompts as a whole. You can use it to generate content ideas. You can make images for the websites. And so let's just jump into it quick. First thing about when you're going to create a prompt, that is the magic of the ChatGPT. So you got to make sure that how you write what you're asking it to do is really specific and important. So focusing on a single topic, being really clear, setting the expectations of what you want it to do, and the signing a character lens is something that's really, really cool. You can use ChatGPT and say that you are a economic development professional and explain to me why this site is a great fit. And it'll generate text from that perspective that then you could use to enhance some of your economic development websites. And here's an example of some ED prompts. Like, you are an economic developer. From the article provided, create 3 search engine optimized titles. Or you are an economic developer. From the report, create a summary blog post. We've done a whole presentation on this topic. There's some really neat things you can do as far as just saving time as an economic developer, especially if you get you could take a whole annual report and have it make you a quick summary of it, or you can use it to really review data. But as far as it goes to websites, one of the things that I think is pretty cool is you can use it to create graphics. And here's just an example. This is using ChatGPT 4. So this is based on subscription based, but I can create a dramatic photo of a businesswoman surveying a construction site. She has on a professional white blazer and a construction helmet. And this is the image that was generated for me. But it wasn't quite what I wanted, so I can make adjustments. And in ChatGPT, it'll track your kind of conversation that you're having with it. So I could change it, say, create a dramatic photo of businesswoman surveying construction site. She has on a professional, here's a different version of the same thing, but it's a little more, and this one's a dramatic photo. This one is make the same thing in a watercolor, but with a woman wearing a VR headset. Or make it again in the style of an animated feature film and have a greenfield site, and she's visiting advanced manufacturing plant. So these are all from the same thread of conversation. Now, when you make these images, you can use them on your economic development websites. You can't copyright a AI created image. That's actually been passed as a law in the United States. However, you can use them and just, if anything, just credit it to the ChatGPT or the AI tool that you used. And there's so many uses: policy development, skills analysis. So much you can do. I'm just going to have these slides in here for you guys to check out later. But there are some things you just got to be careful of. AI is not perfect at all. It can find issues, like sometimes when it's searching for data, it won't put it together quite right, or it'll have a bias because there's too much of a certain type of data out there that it's considering, and necessarily taken across, especially this happens with cultures and races and stuff like that, because there's just more types of image out there that the whole tool was trained on, of certain types than other types. And so that's something that certainly is getting worked on, but there is bias in AI. There's also things called hallucinations where it makes up something. And so it'll take in all account all this information, but it might not quite put the facts together the way that they are. And so I highly recommend not just using AI straight out of the bottle, so to say, and putting it onto a site. You need to apply your own touch, your own feel, and there's things that it's not going to be able to do that really capture the story of your community, that you have to add in that flavor. And that's certainly at Golden Shovel. That's what our writers do. It's never going to put in a quote from somebody in your community, or it's never going to really know what it's like to be in that community. And the last thing is this uncanny valley. That's something you have to watch out for with images. You end up with it'll try to generate an image, but people have 6 fingers, or their faces will be weird, or just something unusual. There'll be like an extra arm in the background that it shouldn't be there. So with the images also, just make sure that you tread carefully. This is certainly something that Golden Shovel's been all over. We've built some ChatGPT tools tied into our economic gateway system, and there's a variety of different ways and different things we've been working on, but one that I can tell you about now is we've been using it for search engine optimization. So naturally, with the economic development website, there sometimes can be hundreds of pages, if not more, different listings. And so we built a tool in the admin that allows us to go to each page. Like, for example, there's the Our Team page, the About page, the Join Our Team, and then click on that little robot head that says AI Assist Pro, and it'll read the content on that page, generate the description that might be used, or keywords, or the title line, and then it puts it into here. And then from here, we can tweak it. Because once again, even with our own tools that we're building, you don't want to necessarily just take whatever it gives you straight up the way it is. You want to make sure that it's how you want it. So that's something that we've been really excited about, and you're going to see a lot more of this AI get integrated into Golden Shovel's tools and processes in the future. So I'll pass this one over to you quick, Lisa.
Yeah, but first of all, I just want to say that I think that last case over there is one of the best cases, one of the best use cases I've seen for, I just think this is fantastic, by the way, because it brings together really what this language learning model is so good at. In this case, is you don't need the human touch other than to make, you need to eyeball it and of course but you need to make sure that it fits the particular format, that it is effective. And I just thought this was super, super clever. And anyone who has worked on meta descriptions know that this can be, a combination art and science, and very time consuming to do. So I thought this was really excellent.
Thank you.
One of the, I know at the FT Financial Times, there's a lot of thought and work being put into guiding safe, ethical use of AI. And I know this is obviously going to be the case for any government organization or representative. And so there's different ways to think about preserving the integrity, making sure that you are, as Aaron said, like rereading to make sure it sounds real, that you are nevertheless respecting data privacy, that you think about protecting your intellectual property, brand, and organization. So thinking about what actually are you sharing with ChatGPT, who gets to use it then, how does the language learning model use that for other people, thinking about responsibility. It is an incredible productivity enhancement tool, but definitely something that we want to think about in terms of ethics.
I just threw this out there, Lisa. If anybody, we have a free ebook at goldenshovel.com that we wrote regarding this, came out in December. Feel free to download it. And it has a variety of other ways outside of just websites that you can use ChatGPT in economic development.
Definitely super helpful. Number 2, workforce. This is definitely a big one, something that we've heard for a long time. I'll let you pass this back over to you.
Sure. We've I'd say over half of the work that we do at Golden Shovel has been about attracting workforce, and still just bigger than ever. Really talking to people about why it'd be a good place to live and to bring their family and to make sure that that it's going to be a good fit for them. And we've built all sorts of different types of sites. This one here is West Central Works. This is a 10-county region in Wisconsin to help people find different jobs and provide training. We've got one in Clark County. This is up in the greater Springfield area in Ohio. And this one is particularly interesting, I thought, because it introduces jobs to people that might be interested in getting them. And actually, they have tons of these different videos on here of people doing their job and explaining why they love it and why they thrive at it. And you can go and you can watch these videos. You can be like, wow, I think I could do that. And sometimes you have a guy be like, I didn't think I'd ever be doing this kind of job, but now I'm 2 years in and I'm in charge of the quality control for this particular machine or this particular product before it gets sent out internationally. And I just full of pride and I love my job. And it's like, these are the types of storytelling that really influences people to consider those jobs. And Golden Shovel, we've been using the VR2 to really highlight, like, go to your leading employers in your community, especially in situations where it might be unsafe to be on the plant floor, and make VR videos and then bring them to the schools. Sometimes it's hard to bring all of the students to your local business to be able to check it out and consider it. Some of them drive by on the bus on the way to school every single day, and they think it's like Henry Ford days inside your manufacturing plant, when the truth is it's very high tech. It's very modern. They're working with computers. It's very clean. You can show all of that stuff off in 360 and create that feeling like they're there. Another group that we've worked with in the past was Greater Yankton. I just thought they just have this really creative idea where every March they do 31 under 31. And they highlight one family or a person or talent in their community each day of somebody that's under the age of 31. And when they go in there, you can hear about their story and learn about why they love it there, why they're thriving there, what their job is. And then on the 31st day, they'll have one person that's been there over 31 years to talk about why they've lived there their whole life. And what a neat thing, because these are the types of people that are already thriving and you want to attract more of them. And so these stories and these this little campaign that they do every March, it gives something for these people to share with their friends, and those friends might end up moving into the community too. Also, with workforce attraction, really highlighting volunteer opportunities is something that's unique, so that you can, it's not just about the job, it's about what else are you going to do and how are you going to engage that community? What might you be interested in doing?
So lots of information about ways to attract and retain workforce, whether it's reskilling or workforce attraction. An example here from Santa Clarita Valley using a workforce attraction content on their virtual tours where they can talk about award-winning education. And some examples also of the really popular university and trade and vocational school data that we added. You can see this here in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. You can search, map out, look for top universities, top programs, degrees conferred at different levels. This is something that is really difficult to find if you're doing the research on your own. Example here from SC Power Team, not only do we have occupation data and labor force data, wage data, but they also built in their own report, in this case, a labor study that they did. It's always possible to integrate data of your own. There's so much information that can be mapped and made visual to talk about what it looks like in terms of the workforce in your area so that investors get a better sense of what they can expect. Erin, this brings us to number one. I know we are right on the 2:30 mark here, so we're going to ask your patience just for the last few minutes. This is business retention and expansion. This is a surprising number one for many people, but this is really based in the data. I'm about to release a book that I co-authored with Anatolia Ubalde from GIS Planning and Size Up. We have done surveys, worldwide surveys in US and North America in 2021 and 2023 that we compared with earlier surveys that we did in 2011. And that's really quite fascinating to see. But business retention and expansion is now consistently rated the #1 priority for US EDOs, just ahead of investment attraction. In fact, when we looked at the 2021 data, we were a little surprised by this, and I thought maybe it was just an artifact of the pandemic, which is why we redid the survey again in November of 2023. And to our surprise, business retention and expansion remained at the very top of the list. So you can see the evolution line in the far right-hand side of the column. This is definitely something that economic development organizations are very concerned about and something that they're working on. Thinking about supporting your local businesses, one of the things we know is that small and medium-sized businesses cannot afford consultants and to purchase data of their own. So as EDOs, any data that you could put on your website that benefits your local businesses and helps them map suppliers, competitors, supply chain, help them understand things about wages and labor force and occupation is really critical to them. And this information ideally can be downloaded in different formats, as you see here on Excel, on spreadsheets, as a hyperlink. It can be printed. Another example here we've got from Intersect Illinois, where you can look at their giving people the ability to look at all businesses within the particular town. So very granular, very interesting data. FDI data, 7 years of greenfield investment by country, by sector, by job level, by investment. This is something people want to see to understand how they can support the businesses in their area. And the last thing I just wanted to show you here is from Size Up. There's Size Shop Local. You can put this tool on your website to make it freely available to businesses in your area to get some of this critical data, benchmark themselves across the competition, understand underserved areas, and make decisions that help them grow and thrive.
Yeah, we've been doing the same thing. And part of the thing is that the whole economic development game is just continuing to change. And now with bigger challenges like lack of housing and childcare, we're into situations where even the talent attraction and getting the workforce to all move into the region just isn't a possibility because there isn't places for them to live. And that puts a lot of stress and pressure on the existing businesses. And so everything like we were showing earlier, like the career exploration videos to get people in your community, students, and particularly excited about those careers is going to be more critical than ever because it's getting harder to bring people in to take those jobs if they don't have a place to live. And so the game of economic development, if you will, is now a longer term game because in order to build a new development takes oftentimes a few years at least, if not longer. So, or you bring in enough power, energy, et cetera, et cetera. So there's just bigger concerns. And so we've been building all sorts of different types of sites, sometimes microsites that have been tied in. And this is an example of one we did for Washington County. This is in Minnesota. And they made a whole what's next CEO kind of section of their site that really has these kind of like peer-to-peer roundtable stuff. It connects business owners together, connects them to the business advisors at the county. They're going to do some webinars and programs of the sort, and all of the resources that businesses might need to help each other so that they can all thrive in the community. There's another one in Elk River. We did a business toolbox, which has all the tools and focusing on making sure that the local businesses have the support that they need. And Elisa just mentioned Size Up. We've been putting that in quite a few sites, especially more focused on the BR&E side, because there's so many small businesses that frankly the average economic development organization doesn't have time to even go meet and find out what their stresses are. And so having some of these tools on board where they can do their own analysis to determine where they might put their business or how to expand it, be able to get all this information has been very, very valuable. And it's a way to provide support to the small businesses that you might not be able to physically get out to meet all of the owners. And that's a wrap. We have hit our top 10 trends in economic development websites. I mean, I'm just going to pop on quick. And unfortunately, I don't think we're going to have too much time for a bunch of question and answers this time. I think we hit our max.
I think so. But, you know, people can reach out to us if they have any questions. It's easy enough to find us, of course, on your Golden Shovel website and GS Planning, and LinkedIn. We did see a question, someone asked about the slide deck, and of course, we've said we will provide that in the follow-up email.
Yep. We will send that out, and feel free to reach out to Elisa or myself for any kind of further information. And please check out our websites where you can certainly download lots of additional information and support on these topics. So what a pleasure. Lisa, it's 10 years. Thank you.
10 years. Yes, this is always fun. Really great stuff. Love seeing all the images, and thank you all for taking time out of your busy days. And thank you, Golden Shovel, for hosting this.
You're most welcome. So thank you, everybody. Take care.
Bye-bye.